Alright guys, thank you for joining me again on our Flight Sim Fan video. This time we're in day 1 of F-14 RIO training. As I said in the introduction video, we'll be covering pretty much almost everything you'll need just to be a competent DCS RIO. Nothing too crazy for realistic, because let's face it, no one's ever going to fly the F-14 again, unfortunately, because it's been retired. Unless you get your hands on an Iranian one somehow. Either way, this is F-14 day 1. Today's video is control mappings, and this is my control mappings. If you have a profile that you already have, great. As long as you cover all the controls we'll go through today, that's all you're going to need. So stick with me. We're going to go to the controls right now. So we're in the DCS main menu. We're going to select settings. Obviously, we'll go to controls, and we'll clear that. And we're going to go to F-14 RIO. Okay, now starting from here, I always like to go straight down at the list here. I'll go down to stick, unless they got rid of it, but it could be called, well, let's go start with radar control panel. This is not off to a good start. No. So first thing I like to have mapped here, and as I said, this is one of those things where it's a separate button, not on the hand control unit itself, but I've mapped it here because it's easier for me, is the interrogate friend or foe button, so IFF. I've mapped this button to my stick, so you're going to need this, or you don't need it, but it's very, very helpful if you have it for later, and you'll see why. So DDD, interrogate friend or foe. Okay. Next, we're going to have radar track all scan manual. The reason I have this mapped, and you'll figure it out as we keep going through the sessions here, is every time you shoot a Phoenix missile in track all scan, which we'll go through what track all scan is, but once you shoot the Phoenix missile in a certain mode of radar, it switches to auto, and the auto doesn't really do a great job, so I always switch it back to manual. So I have a quick button for that. Radar azimuth left and right. This allows us to move the radar cone left and right. Okay, so it allows you to kind of slew the cone left, slew the cone right, and you can scan different parts of the sky horizontally. So I have that mapped to my joystick. Okay, you're going to need, I like to have all these in the joystick as well. This is actually on my throttle, on a 4-way hat. So azimuth scan narrower, scan wider. So the difference between these, and you'll see in the airplane, this is just moving the cone left and right, and this is actually making the cone bigger or smaller that we can move. Okay, bars decrease, elevation bars decrease and increase are on that same hat. So for me, up and down on the hat do increase, left and right do the narrow wider. And this is on the Coolie hat if you have a Thrustmaster Warthog. Elevation bars increase, decrease, just like everything we'll get more in detail, but you can think of these as, think of the, you know how your horizontal azimuth, you can go narrow wider? Well, this is kind of the same thing, but in the vertical. I can scan narrow wider in the vertical. You can think of it like that. The less scanning vertically, the faster the scan is, but the less sky you're covering. The more you're scanning vertically, the more time the radar takes to scan through all that, but the more sky you're covering. So it's kind of, there's a good place to use, a good time and place to use elevation bars and scan for azimuth. Okay, radar elevation down and up. It lets me change the actual angle of the radar, so I can tilt it left, or I can tilt it, I can tilt it up or down. You need those. These are on my stick as well, so that's mandatory there. Okay, we won't get into VSL high, VSL low for now, but you can map them for later if you have extra buttons. Next, we'll go to hand control unit. If you have a dual stage trigger, you're going to want to map half action and full action to the dual stage trigger. If you do not have a dual stage trigger and you don't know how this works, let me explain it. If you have any previous knowledge on a Hornet, or if you've seen Jester slew the radar around, there's a little circle that pops up on the screen, and I can move that circle on my radar screen to select different targets. So if I hold half action, if I just click it once, if I hold it once, the circle pops up and it allows me to move the little cursor like a mouse. It allows me to move the mouse to a certain target. Full action will then go ahead and lock and or select the target that I've wanted, or waypoint or whatever. So when you're mapping these, if you don't have a dual stage trigger, map them in a way that you can hit both of them at the same time, or you can hold them both at the same time as well. Okay, Hcu MRL, we won't get through that today as well. Hcu offset, we'll be using this, so you can map that somewhere. It could even be spacebar, something you can put anywhere in your keyboard if you're not in VR. Okay, Hcu Radar Mode, you're going to want to map this. So if you ever had previous knowledge with the Hornet or A10 or anything like that, you know there's something called sensor of interest, and you got to tell what screen to have sensor of interest with. This kind of works like that, in a way where if you're using, there's two screens of the Tomcat at the back. There's two screens. If you want to use the top screen, I like to use radar mode. If you want to use the bottom screen, you got to be in TID mode. So you'll get more into that later, but I would map these two for sure. If you're short on buttons, these two for sure. Radar mode, TID mode. Okay, finally, HCU thumb wheel down, HCU thumb wheel up. And this also controls our radar elevation, but it's a much more precise way of tuning it. Alright, now also going to the axis assign, you're going to want to make sure that your joystick or Xbox controller, whatever it is hooked up to HCU left and right. That should be Joy X. And HCU up and down. So HCU stands for hand control unit. This controls the stick and the back seat. So you want to make sure it's left and right and up and down. Ooh, up and down. Okay, we won't cover lantern pod stuff today either. If you want any zooms on an axis, the zoom's all down here, and you can map that as you like. Okay, now I'm going to go in the all section and just start hitting buttons, and if I find one that I missed, I'll let you know. Covered that, covered that, covered that. That's lantern stuff. Simple radio won't cover today too, but there's simple radio controls in here as well. Lantern, don't need that. That's a good one. Chaff and Flare. So to find these, just type in SGL, and you got chaff single, flare single, and the jammer single. So this, if I hit this button, it'll do chaff once. If I hit this button, it'll do flare once. And you can spam it as you like. You can set up programs and stuff too, but that's the easiest way. Okay, more radios for simple radio. Not necessary for us today. Simple radio. So that should be everything in the back seat. It's not that much. If you have an X52, X56, then it should cover it. So I hope you enjoyed the control mappings video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And I'll be putting my Discord in the bottom, well, not mine, but I'm part of a squad. I'll be putting that in the description as well. So if you want to join that and you need a pilot to fly with, or you can fly with me as well, just join that Discord and just say hey in the public lobby or something. I'm sure someone will respond. Alright, so thanks for watching, and let's hope you get in the back seat soon. We need more backseaters as it is, so let's hope this video helps you. Thank you.